not all pals are created equal in Palworld. Overpowered pals can be made that are faster, stronger, and even better workers. This is accomplished through 3 in-game mechanics: breeding, the Pal Essence Condenser, and the Statue of Power, all of which will be covered in this guide. As usual, useful timestamps can be found in the video description. The first and probably most important system at our disposal is breeding, and we can do a sort of selective breeding, but more on that later. First off, in order to breed pals, we will need a breeding farm. It's unlocked with technology points at level 19 and can be built with very basic materials. 1 male and 1 female pal can be assigned to the breeding farm, at which point they will begin producing pal eggs. However, cake must be placed in the container of the breeding farm for this to happen. As you might have guessed, making cake will take some effort. First, we'll need a cooking pot, which is unlocked with technology points at level 17. In addition, we will need 5 flour, 8 red berries, 7 milk, 8 eggs, and 2 honey for each cake. To get the flour, we will need to harvest wheat plantations for wheat and grind it up in a mill, both of which can be unlocked with technology points at level 15. Berries are also obtained by harvesting plantations, which can be unlocked in the same manner at level 5. If you require seeds for either of these plantations, both can be purchased from the Red Wandering Merchant located at the small settlement. The other ingredients are obtained by either defeating specific pals or more sustainably by having them produce it while within a ranch structure at a base. Chikipis produce eggs, and these pals are very common to find in low-level starter areas. For milk, we need Mozzarinas, and these pals are fairly abundant to the northwest of the ravine entrance fast travel point, and their level range is right around 10. Finally, we need honey. Beegardes produce it and can be found roaming around the Snowy Mountain Fork fast travel point. Unlike the other two, Beegardes actually put up a decent fight. Given their level range of around 20, along with their tendency to self-destruct, catching one can prove fairly difficult without a good flying mount. Fortunately, even if they self-destruct, they should drop around 2 to 3 honey. So, failing to catch one, we should still get enough honey for a cake in just a few minutes. One final note, if you are planning to harvest these pal-based ingredients at your camp, you will need to take measures to ensure that they don't get eaten by your pals. That's because the ingredients are also food items and so will often be brought to feed boxes by pals, getting eaten shortly thereafter. We can prevent this by placing a large stack of food that we do want the pals to eat, such as berries, in the first or leftmost spot of the feed box. This will cause the pals to eat that first food item and not the collected ingredients. Once we have all the required ingredients, we can start making the cake at the cooking pot. It requires a pal with the kindling work suitability to make and takes a fair amount of time to fully cook. Cakes will degrade within 20 minutes of being cooked, but at least at the time of making this video, they can be stored in the breeding farm chest to completely stop that degradation. Each cake will allow for the production of 1 pal egg, and once the egg is produced, it can be hatched after sitting in an incubator for a designated time. The incubator can be unlocked with ancient technology points at level 7. By default, huge eggs take 2 hours to hatch without any bonuses. Incubation times can be sped up by providing the appropriate amount of warmth to make the eggs comfortable, and this varies depending on the egg type. For example, blazing eggs require a substantial amount of heat to reach ideal comfort, whereas frozen eggs prefer a cooler environment. Before we start breeding, there are 2 core mechanics that we should discuss. The first is what will determine the specific species of pal that hatches from the egg. Breeding in Palworld is unique in that any 2 pals, even if they are wildly different, can successfully breed to make a pal egg, so long as one is male and one is female. If the male and female parent are of the same species of pal, such as 2 Cinnamoth, then the resulting egg will be of that same species, so another Cinnamoth. However, if the male and female are of different species of Pal, such as a Cinnamoth and a Penking, then the resulting egg will often be of a species that is different from either parent. In the dramatic case of a Cinnamoth and Penking breeding, the resulting egg will hatch an Anubis. This is not always the case, as some crossbreeding combinations will result in a Pal that matches one of the parents. For example, a Yormantide and Mammorest will produce a Yormantide egg. However, such combinations are relatively rare, and you are much more likely to get a Pal egg that differs from either parent. Now, this may seem like a surefire way to easily get all the different Pals through breeding alone, and while it's true that many new and unique Pals can be obtained solely through combinations of different parent Pals, there are some restrictions and limitations on this system. First, some Pals can only be produced through a single combination of unique parents or by two parents of the same species. A good example of this is Suzaku Aqua. The only unique combination of parent Pals that can produce a Suzaku Aqua egg is a Yormantide with a regular Suzaku. This is in addition to the standard rule whereby two Suzaku Aqua parents will also produce Suzaku Aqua eggs. The second restriction on this system is that some Pals can only be produced by two parents of the same species. This includes all legendary Pals that can be found in the open world and carry the legend passive, one example being Jetragon, as well as certain non-legendary Pals, such as Yormantide Ignis. So, for example, if you want to breed Jetragons, you will need to first catch at least two Jetragons in the open world, one male and one female. All that said, this system is still very useful. Sure, it allows us to get late-game Pals at lower levels, such as Anubis. However, it can also be combined with the second important mechanic of Pal breeding, inheritance, to breed very powerful Pals much more easily. Before talking about how that is, we need to first explain how inheritance works. You may have noticed passive skills on your Pals, an example being Swift, which increases movement speed by 30%. A Pal can have up to 4 passive skills, and similar ones such as Swift, Runner, and Nimble can all stack. In this example, a Pal with all these passives would have a 60% increase to speed compared to the same Pal without those passives. Now, the great thing about breeding is that one or more passive skills of a parent Pal can be passed down to or inherited by their offspring. This includes rare or Pal-specific passives such as Lucky or Legend. It's important to know that I am going to be referring to the combined group of unique passive skills from two parent Pals as the inheritance pool. The chance that a passive skill is passed down from the inheritance pool is fairly high, but not 100%. Because of this, we can breed Pals that have desirable passives in the hopes that they are inherited by the offspring. At the same time, even if the parent Pals have one or more undesirable passives, there is a chance that those passives will not be inherited by the offspring. On top of this, offspring have a chance to gain totally new passives that neither parent has. These could be considered mutations, and they allow for new desirable traits to arise while breeding Pals. As we hatch Pals with more passives that we want and less that we don't, we can use them to breed instead of their parents, selectively breeding the ultimate Pals over the course of several generations. Let's give a practical demonstration of selective breeding to produce an ultra-fast Jetragon. For anyone that's interested, I have a guide on how to catch Jetragon, and you can find a link to it near the bottom of this video's description. Ultimately, we want a Jetragon with the following passive skills: Legend, Swift, Runner, and Nimble, all of which increase speed. Given that Jetragon can only be bred from two parent Jetragons, the starting Pals that we have are a male Jetragon with Legend, Divine Dragon, and Swift, and a female Jetragon with Legend, Divine Dragon, and Vanguard. When combined, the inheritance pool of passive skills for this breeding pair is then Legend, Divine Dragon, Swift, and Vanguard. There is a much higher chance that these passives will show up in offspring compared to any others, which have a much lower chance to show up as a result of mutation. After a couple hours of breeding and incubating eggs, we can look at some of these offspring. We have a male Jetragon with the desired Nimble and Legend passives, but also Heated Body and Dainty Eater, both of which are not desired. The Legend passive was inherited, whereas the 3 remaining passives are mutations. Another one of our Jetragon offspring is a female with the desired Swift and Legend passives, but also the Suntan Lover and Power of Gaia passives, which we don't want. If we breed these 2 Jetragon together, our new inheritance pool will be Legend, Swift, and Nimble for the desired passives, but also Heated Body, Dainty Eater, Suntan Lover, and Power of Gaia for undesired passives. Even so, this new generation breeding pair gives us much better odds of producing offspring that have those 3 desired passives when compared to the original parent pair. Given the presence of so many undesired passives, we may need to make incremental improvements to our inheritance pool. For example, if we get a female Jetragon with just the Swift passive, it could replace the current female Jetragon. Doing this would remove the undesired Suntan Lover and Power of Gaia passives from the inheritance pool, while retaining all 3 of the desired passives. Even though this new female Jetragon has not inherited the desired Legend passive, the male parent Jetragon also has Legend, and so it's still in the inheritance pool. Ideally, we can clean up our inheritance pool so that there are only the desired passives in it, with little to no undesired passives. Going along with our example, I eventually got my pool down to just Legend, Swift, Nimble, and Musclehead, with Musclehead being the lone undesirable passive. With this breeding pair, and after a considerable amount of time, I got lucky with a mutation that added the Runner passive to a female offspring, and it also inherited both Nimble and Swift. I then bred that with the male Jetragon that had Legend amongst other passives. At that point, my inheritance pool had Legend, Swift, Runner, and Nimble, along with Musclehead, and it was a matter of when, not if, I would hatch a Jetragon with all 4 speed-related passives. This process can be done for any passives that you want on a specific pal. If you want a pal that is suited for battle, try to selectively breed for passives like Musclehead, Ferocious, Legend, Lucky, and Hooligan. On the other hand, if you want a pal that is suited to working quickly, go for Artisan, Serious, Lucky, and the one that starts with Work. All that said, the process of selective breeding with this method takes a long time. With Jetragon, it sort of makes sense because Jetragons can only be bred with 2 Jetragon parents. However, this system becomes a lot quicker and more flexible when we are breeding pals that can come from multiple parent combinations. For example, let's say I want a super fast Suzaku. I might not have many speed-related passives on any of my Suzakus. But I do have that Jetragon with all 4 of the speed-related passives. Well, Jetragon can be bred with Suzaku to make more Suzaku. Given that, I just paired my super fast Jetragon with a Suzaku that had the Runner passive. This gave me an inheritance pool that contained all and only the speed-related passives. That led to me getting a Suzaku with all 4 speed passives after hatching just 2 eggs. Taking it one step further, if I wanted a similarly fast Suzaku Aqua, I could then breed that fast Suzaku with a Yormatide for an equally efficient production of a Suzaku Aqua with all 4 speed passives. The possibilities here are nearly limitless. Because of how complex this system can get, it's a good idea to save any pal caught in the wild that has desirable passives. Even if it's a pal that you never plan on using, there may come a time when you can crossbreed them to pass those desirable passives onto a pal that you will actually use. There is a really useful website that can show what every pal breeding combo results in. It can filter for breeding combos that result in a specific pal, and even calculate multi-step paths to produce a specific final pal. I'll leave a link to it in the pinned comment of this video. That just about covers how to breed any specific pal with the best passives for their intended role. Now let's talk about how to further power up a pal once it has been bred with ideal passives. The first way is through the Pal Essence Condenser. It can be unlocked at level 14 with ancient technology points and allows us to upgrade the star level of a pal by merging more of that same pal into it. We need to start by picking the pal that we want to enhance. After that, we can select other pals of the same type to condense into the primary pal. We need to select 4 additional pals for the first upgrade, and all of them will be lost or consumed by this process. However, the reward is that our primary pal will receive a boost to its main stats, max health, attack, and defense. In addition, its partner skill will also be upgraded. For certain pals that can be ridden, this upgrade will also boost mounted speed. A pal can have its star level upgraded 4 times, and the required number of pals to be sacrificed increases significantly with each upgrade, with the final star level upgrade requiring a total of 64 pals to be sacrificed. In total, 116 pals must be sacrificed to fully upgrade a pal to star level 4. The final star level upgrade will also boost all of a pal's work suitabilities by a single level. For example, getting an Anubis to star level 4 will boost its handiwork to level 5, mining to level 4, and transporting to level 3. Now, the other way to boost a pal's power is through the Statue of Power, which is unlocked with technology points at level 6. We can upgrade a pal's max health, attack, defense, and work speed by 3% increments, up to a maximum of 30%. The first 4 upgrades require small pal souls, the next 3 require medium pal souls, and the final 3 require large pal souls. In total, each stat will require 10 small, 6 medium, and 6 large pal souls to fully upgrade. In my experience, pal souls are most easily found in gold chests. The location of these gold chests is what determines the size of the pal souls they contain. First, if you need gear to help you survive hot or cold temperatures, you can find it at the Green Wandering Merchant in Duneshelter. Okay, for small pal souls, the gold chests found in areas with pals around level 15 to 20 will usually contain them. We can also occasionally find individual small pal souls as blue crystals on the ground. I've found that a good area to look for small pal souls is throughout the Anubis Desert area, northeast of the Investigator's Fork fast travel point. Next up are the medium pal souls, and gold chests in regions with pals around the low to mid 30s will often have these souls. We can scavenge the flat region northwest of the Deep Sand Dunes fast travel point to find plenty of these. Finally, there are the large pal souls, and gold chests in regions with pals around the upper 30s and even low 40s are the best source of these. Although the terrain is a bit rougher and therefore harder to navigate, the snowy region northwest of the Unthawable Lake fast travel point should still make for fairly decent large pal soul farming. There is one other, more obvious way to make your pals stronger, and that is by leveling them up. My preferred method for doing this in the endgame is to first capture a few level 50 Jetragon. Then, with the Jetragon missile launcher, I take 1 or 2 pals I want to level up, along with 3 or more level 50 Jetragon, to the Tower of the PIDF. By cycling through my 3 or 4 Jetragon, I can pretty effectively burst the boss down in about 5 minutes. Doing this will reward all pals in the party with upwards of 100,000 XP, making it a pretty quick way to level them up. The other benefit to this method is that, at least at the time of making this video, it can be done repeatedly with no cooldown on when the boss is available to be fought again. If you have any questions, you can reach out to me in the comments where I'll do my best to help. If you want to see more great guides, you can head over to my channel, and if you're new, consider subscribing. You're helping me feed my cat. Her name's Marshmallow. Have a great day. If you're here today, have a great Thursday, and as always, thanks for watching.